Cutbacks in many sweeteners in the new government budget. Higher allowances for maintaining dependent parents and grandparents. And former Ming Pao chief editor Kevin Lau seriously injured in a knife attack.
Good evening. Former chief editor of the Ming Pao newspaper, Kevin Lau, was seriously injured this morning in a knife attack in Sai Wan-ho. A man stabbed Lau on Tai Hong Street after he parked his car on the roadside at about 10 a.m. Lau suffered lung and leg injuries and underwent surgery at Eastern Hospital. His condition remains grave tonight. We'll have more on that later in the news, but now a detailed look at the government budget for the next financial year. In his budget speech today, Financial Secretary John Tsang announced cutbacks to many of the sweeteners previously offered, but as Evelina Leung reports, there are also slight increases in tax allowances for maintaining dependent parents or grandparents.
In his budget speech delivered at the Legislative Council today, Financial Secretary John Tsang said there were requests for additional one-off relief measures from various sectors, and he responded to some of them. In the face of an aging population, Tsang proposed to increase the allowances for taxpayers who have dependent parents or grandparents aged 55 or above. Meanwhile, for those with parents or grandparents in residential care homes, the deduction ceiling for elderly residential care expenses will be raised from the current $76,000 to $80,000. The Financial Secretary also announced several one-off relief measures totaling around $20 billion. The Financial Secretary also proposed the reduction of salaries tax, tax under personal assessment, and profits tax by 75%, subject to a ceiling of $10,000 for the 2013 to 2014 period. This is expected to benefit more than 1.8 million taxpayers. Rates will be waived for the first 2 quarters of 2014 to 2015, subject to a ceiling of $1,500 per quarter for each rateable property. That's a cutback from the full-year waiver for the current financial year. The Universal Power Bill subsidy will be scrapped for the coming fiscal year, but there will still be a 1-month bonus payout of welfare allowances, and the government will pay 1 month's rent for public housing tenants. The Financial Secretary did not rule out increasing taxes in the future. However, he sidestepped questions as to when or if taxes will be raised during his tenure.
What is important is that the whole population decrease would have an economic impact, foremost. And that is something that we need to look at, and that's what has prompted us to have a much closer look at the financial position. And we have come up with different scenarios, and we need not look at just any one single aspect, but the whole basket of measures that we need to undertake, and we will take it from there.
As for additional duties, Tsang has increased tobacco tax by 20 cents per cigarette stick. This, the Financial Secretary said, is to lower the health risks of the public. The increase also means the city's smoking tax now meets the minimum requirement of World Health Organization standards at a proportion of tax against retail price of 70%. The Financial Secretary also said the government will look into adjusting water supply charges, which have remained unchanged for 19 years, and fees for leisure facilities as well as hygiene services. Evelina Leung, TVB News.
34 residential plots will be put on sale in the next financial year. They could generate more than 15,000 flats. More on that from Vicky Kung.
The government's target is to build 470,000 homes in 10 years. Financial Secretary John Tsang said an extra $650 million will be allocated to various bureaus and departments in the next 5 years to try to increase land supply. In the current fiscal year, 18,000 new private homes have been provided. That's short of the target of 20,000 units. As for the next financial year,
The 2014-15 land sale program will include 34 residential sites capable of providing about 15,500 units in total. Among these sites, 24 are new ones. Taking into account the housing land supply from different sources, we expect that the average annual target of land supply for private housing can be met in the coming financial year.
The government has identified another 150 plots that are suitable for residential land use. If all these sites are successfully converted into residence, Zhang believes that another 210,000 public and private units can be provided in the next 5 years. The new land sale program will also include 7 commercial or business sites and a hotel-only site. That will provide a total floor area of 230,000 square meters and 1,100 hotel rooms. The budget speech made no mention of tough property cooling measures. Centerline Property founder Shi Wing-ching hopes those measures could be relaxed according to market conditions. She has said tough market cooling measures hurt the livelihoods of those working in the property sector. Vicky Kong, TVB News.
Although he's forecast a surplus for the coming year, the financial secretary warned the city again about a looming structural deficit to come. To cushion the rising costs of an aging population and potential deficits, John Tsang wants to set up a new fund for Hong Kong's future needs. Diane To has that story.
The financial secretary has warned that Hong Kong faces a structural deficit given the city's aging population and sustained low birth rate. The Working Group on Long-Term Fiscal Planning, which John Tsang set up last year, has advised the government to contain spending and preserve the revenue base. Today, Tsang wouldn't rule out looking at ways to raise tax revenues, but told the public not to worry.
This is not a place where we charge high taxes, but meanwhile, it's always a very controversial thing for government to raise taxes. And if we were to do that, it would have to go through a pretty thorough consultation process.
Government spending for 2014-15 is estimated to be $325 billion, 4% less than the revised estimate for the last fiscal year, thanks to the reduction of one-off relief measures. Of that, recurrent spending is expected to be more than $307 billion, an increase of nearly 8% compared to last year. Still, Tsang has forecast a budget surplus of $9.1 billion in the coming year. In case of a sustained budget deficit in later years, Tsang has proposed setting up a future fund as a contingency to pay for infrastructure projects. But with fiscal reserves expected to reach $745 billion in March this year and forecast to near $800 billion by March 2019, the idea of parking more money for the future doesn't sit well with some lawmakers.
Instead of the future fund, we would want the administration to set up the seeding money to support universal retirement plan instead. Since the financial secretary is talking about aging population.
While pointing out that up to the year 2019, the government will have immense reserve, the financial secretary is not willing to make use of the money to deal with and to solve problems that are haunting Hong Kong every day. This is incoherent and inconsistency within the budget itself.
Diane To, TVB News.
The government will set aside $130 million to support the development of the retail industry. The sum will also cover funding for vocational training. Funding for technology and innovation was also a focus in the budget. Stephanie Choi reports.
This year, the government will allocate $130 million to a task force looking into the future of the retail industry and its manpower demand and supply. Part of the money will go to reinforcing vocational education and training by the Vocational Training Council.
This includes running retail courses for professional institutions and launching pilot courses combining classroom learning and a work placement.
The government will also set aside $50 million to help increase the productivity of retailers that use IT and other technology solutions. As for technology and innovation, the government will be setting up a new scheme to help fund research and development projects by private companies with a cap of $10 million per project. The companies will bear half of the cost but can own all the intellectual property rights. The Innovation and Technology Fund will also provide up to $24 million annually to encourage R&D in 6 universities.
To identify such gifted young people earlier, we plan to incorporate enrichment programs in secondary schools which are outstanding in IT education.
Legislators say while these proposed measures are effective, more needs to be done in the long run.
These are small steps, actually, but I think these are small steps in the right direction. These measures are certainly not enough because in the end, must be a long-term thing.
Government sources say they hope the Innovation and Technology Bureau mentioned by the chief executive in his policy address will be set up within this legislative year. Stephanie Choi, TVB News.
As we mentioned earlier, former Mingpao chief editor Kevin Low was attacked this morning in Saiwan-ho. Police are now on the hunt for 2 male suspects. And Ronnie Samtani reports.
Kevin Lau was rushed to Eastern Hospital after the attack. Lau's wife and family arrived soon after. According to the police, Lau was conscious after the assault and called the police himself.
This case happened at about 10:20 this morning at outside number 55, Tai Hong Street, Saiwan-ho. At that time, a man, the victims, he parked his car at the parking meter there, and then he left the car. At that time, suddenly, 2 suspects, they drove and arrived and parked the motorcycle in front of the private car. One of them alighted from the motorcycle and used a chopper and attacked the victims.
Lau was struck 3 times by his attacker. He has serious wounds on his back as well as both of his thighs. Because of the severity of his wounds, Lau needed to undergo multiple surgeries. Doctors say the next 24 hours are critical.
There's 2 back wounds. The longest one is 16 centimeters in length, which is very deep and cutting through all the back muscles and going through the intercostal space. But so luckily, and there's no damage of any lung tissue.
Police collected evidence at the scene as part of their investigation. Officers have questioned staff at a nearby restaurant and will be looking at CCTV footage to try and identify the suspects. Top government officials, including the chief executive, visited Lau at the hospital and condemned the attack.
Hong Kong is a safe place for everyone and should be a safe place for everyone in Hong Kong. Hong Kong is also a law-abiding city, and that's why we strongly condemn this savage act on Mr. Kevin Lau this morning.
The police will investigate the case from all angles because at present it is a bit too early to say what are the causes of this case.
A number of lawmakers, as well as Mingpao's chief editor, Chung Kin-por, also came to see Lau. Lau was chief editor of Mingpao until January, when he was transferred to a different department. Ronnie Samtani, TVB News.
A man who attempted to blackmail the Transformer 4 movie crew last October has been sentenced to 2.5 years in prison. Mak Chi-shing, a 27-year-old air conditioning technician, demanded $100,000 from the film crew while they were shooting in North Point. His older brother, 28-year-old Mak Chi-hang, was acquitted of the blackmail charge, but he still got 6 weeks of jail time for resisting police during a scuffle with the crew. In handing down the prison sentences, the judge noted the case had tarnished Hong Kong's international image.
Still to come in the news tonight, more anti-government protests in Bangkok. The U.S. expels 3 Venezuelan diplomats. And the story of a lucky couple in California